Do we need a cap on migration? We want your calls on this. 0207 862 2222 is the number. New figures released just now show that the level of net migration has fallen sharply across the year up to June, a month before Labour won power. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has been quick to point out this is because of policy changes made by her party while they were still in charge. She admits they didn't go far enough. She's now calling for stricter policies. Let's have a listen to what she says. And I'll just give you the clip in this imminent moment. Hang on, I love this. Come on, Kemi. You can do this.
Got some hold music.
35:30. Oh, it's okay. It's 35:38. Okay, it's 35 minutes in. Okay, that's good to know.
Have these pressures on housing and public services, and a new approach that starts by asking why government doesn't seem to be able to deliver that. The answer is because the system is broken. And until you accept that, all politicians are doomed to fail. So we have to get the diagnosis right.
Okay, so there we are. The diagnosis for her is basically having a limit, having a number of visas that we give out. Now, we can have a look now at the number we've been giving out over the last 20 years. This is Home Office data, and as you can see, in 2005, it was about, let's have a look, 300,000. There's the 2005 figure. And it was given out for things like family-related issues, for people coming to study, people coming to work. And then you see the steady rise through the 2000s, the Blair government, then Brown comes in about there, goes up a little bit. And then we go, then we're on 500,000. And then something happens around 2022, and it goes up to more than 1 million, 1.1, 1.2 million, nearly 1.5 million. Then there's a big ruckus about what are we doing. These are all legal, by the way, and it falls. And the announcement today is it's fallen 20% from 906,000 to 728,000. So there we are. And too many still?
Still too many. I mean, 728,000 is the size of a city. And, if you have that every year, you're increasing vastly. The other thing is, yes, we are talking about legal migration, I know that. But you've also got the huge pressure from the illegal migrants coming over in the boats, which are still adding to the population. So I think it is right that we get even stricter. I think we need to accept still people who are properly qualified, who are coming to work here in medicine or care. I think that is important. It hang on, just let me finish saying, but not long term. Mm-hmm. Long term we have to skill our own population, but in the short and the medium term, I think it's right that we make an exemption for those. I do, however, think we should be a lot stricter about dependents. We should be a lot stricter about students going back when they've completed their thing. Right. And we can do all of that, and I think it's right that we should.
OK, what do you think, Darryl?
I think that we've seen a huge drop in the number of students. Obviously, the dependence rule has made a difference. I can sort of understand and have sympathy for the argument that if you are coming to study, do you need to bring several dependents? The argument there is that your dependents help you to settle, they help you to their work, so that being a student.
Did you take your mum to university?
Being a student is expensive. No, but I didn't go to university, but my mum lived in the country that I lived in, and I think that makes a difference. You ask any student how much do they still rely on their parents when they're at university, and they do hugely, as you'll appreciate.
Take your washing home.
Yeah, take your washing up, but also just finances. I mean, how often do you make a phone call to Bank of Mum and Dad? The thing that we've seen though is a drop, 78% drop in the number of health and care workers, and we have people coming into this country to plug what are substantial, real gaps in our economy. And the question that I have for you, if you want to see migration come down, which is a perfectly reasonable position to take, how do you solve the problem in the health and social care? There's 1 million vacancies in the...
I think I just said very clearly that, I would exempt them from any restrictions. I said that. I mean, I absolutely made that clear.
But other industries too. Our economy, and whether you like it or not, our economy does massively rely on people coming from overseas here to help.
Let's have a look. Just before Anne answers, you like it or not. Just want to see the moment Kemi Badenoch says what her actual solution is.
A strict numerical cap with visas only for those who will make a substantial and clear overall contribution. A fully transparent approach, publishing all the data so that for the first time, everyone can see the real costs and benefits of different types of migration.
Kemi Badenoch there. So, the 3 keywords: strict numerical cap.
Yes. Actually, she sounded a bit like Reform. I think, and I'm being serious there. When I say she sounded
You say
like,
one in, one out, don't you?
When she talked about, a strict cap and strict criteria and all the rest of it, it's exactly what Reform have been saying. And I think you're seeing there, and I won't get distracted by this, but you're seeing there a movement from the Conservatives towards Reform policy for obvious reasons. Now, your problem with an absolute cap and simply saying we're only going to go up to X number is what happens if those above the cap are your health and care workers.
Yeah,
you've actually got a problem imposing a cap. It's the criteria which matter, that you don't have dependents, that you don't have people coming over here and staying on years beyond their studies, that you actually operate strict criteria.
Right. Hang on, Darryl, let's just take John in Surrey. John, what do you think? Is this the right answer from the Conservatives?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, by the way, you've got one of my favourite people on today, Anne. I think she should be Prime Minister.
I assumed it wasn't going to be me.
Well, A, we thought that was going for Darryl because he's become a dad. And B, it's getting ridiculous. Every time Anne is on, someone rings up and says you should be Prime Minister.
Why is that ridiculous?
Well, it's happened every time. Go on, John.
Well, it makes sense to have... All right, we'll get back to that figure. You've got to have a cap on it. I mean, it's been out of control for years. I mean,
but is it bad though? I mean,
we're basically not taking people that we need. We're taking people purely because they want to come over it.
Okay, but we keep being told that unless we have younger workers by the thousand, in old age, no one will look after us. That's what we're told.
Yeah, all right, then that's fair enough. But there are actually quite a lot of young people that aren't working. Some of them even try and get jobs. So this fact that, they don't want to work, I've got a grandson that's put in for loads of jobs, and he doesn't get them.
Right, in care homes
and he hasn't
stuff?
just come over from another country. He's born and bred same as I am in this country.
But in the end, we've got to have Brits doing care jobs.
It's a good question, Jeremy, that you posted, John. John, has he applied for a job in a care home?
He's applied all kinds of jobs.
And he gets turned down on John, has he applied for a job in a care home, in a care setting?
I don't know. I don't know about that one.
Because that's what we need. We need care home workers and fruit pickers. And for some reason, Brits don't want to do those jobs.
And for some reason, they're allowed not to do them.
They're extremely brutal jobs, and they're often
brutal.
They're often low paid. I think so.
Picking fruit?
14? What? Yeah, I mean, 15, 16 hours a day in a field in the beating rain. Absolutely. They're also low paid.
People used to break rocks.
They're also low value as well. By the way, we have more vacancies in our economy that if we were to strip out migration, we would be on our knees. We have more vacancies in our economy than simply getting everybody who is fit to work who doesn't back to work. And there are lots of complicated reasons as to why people are out. Simply beating this drum that you've got to get back to work, you've got to get back to work, you've got to get back to work.
You have.
I accept. Well, listen, I accept.
It may not work. And we did this yesterday. There are lots of young people who can't work because their nerves are shredded.
Their nerves are shredded.
Yep. Anxiety, nervousness and depression.
Yeah. Well, I would simply say that, there are some young people who can't work because they really do have very serious problems. But I am not going to buy that large numbers can't do it.
OK. More after the break. We'll take more calls. Should the government introduce a limit, as Kemi Badenoch says, a numerically specific cap on the number of new visas? 0207 862 2222. Your calls on Kemi Badenoch saying we need a cap on migration to limit how many people can be granted a visa to come to the UK. 0207 862 2222. Bear in mind the Conservatives did have 14 years to sort this out, so they're going to have to struggle to answer the question as to why they didn't get around to it. Sarah in Aberdeenshire, what do you think?
I think we should 100% put a cap on.
Yeah? And you think, 1 million people, give or take, is too many?
Far too many. Listen, we were never asked as a population if we were willing to accept a lower level of standard for our services just to allow a huge influx of migrants. We have no dentist appointments, no school places, no doctor's appointments or hospitals. Things are getting really bad and the government needs to stop.
I mean, the thing about the cap, I suppose, is if you cap it and then we reach the number in August and then there's a crisis in Hong Kong and suddenly 1 million people want to join the number, do you say, well, OK, this year we forget the cap? Or is the cap really totally rigid? So we say, try us next year.
I say we never try it. We need to focus on our people, They need our help. We don't have housing for our people. Our children, there's some in poverty. We need to sort all of this out first before we take in others. It's not right.
All right, Sarah, thank you very much in Aberdeenshire. Derek is in Northamptonshire. What do you think, Derek?
Good morning, Jeremy.
Morning.
Hello. Well, I think that the population has become far too large. I mean, our population density is about twice that of France, and we have a population density of about 420 per square kilometre.
Is it very high? I don't know, because when I look at Japan, you know, they've got so many bits of Japan you can't live in that they're all crushed together. And by the way, there's no swearing there. They're all polite to each other. We're so rude in this country.
But I would compare, for example, England or Britain with New Zealand. They have a population density of about 20 people per square kilometre.
And we're how much, 400?
20 in England. And it's much greater in London and the South East.
OK, thank you, Derek. Your phone seems to be breaking. That worries me because you call us a lot. Please get a new phone, Derek.
I think he's calling from that newly discovered city.
Well, I think he was. He sounds like he's under Greenland.
Yeah. I just point something out to Derek is that New Zealand does indeed have. I think there's about 5 million people in New Zealand. They massively rely on people going over. They're looking for more people to go over. They also have a housing crisis in New Zealand. It costs an extortionate amount to buy a house. There aren't enough of them. So this idea, actually, these are political decisions that we make. The idea that the number of people that live in this country is solely responsible for why we don't have enough housing. When we can build more housing, it's a problem that New Zealand are reckoning with, and they have far fewer people living in their country. Far fewer.
But your comments earlier about only having one child because, you know, the planet's too small. That's all a reaction, Anne. It's so interesting because that ties in with what we're saying is that people are starting to think this country's full.
Well, I mean, the country is full. It's been full, actually, for some time.
How do you define full?
And what can
how do we define full, though?
And it's filling up even more because of the boat people and because also, we overlook this quite often, longevity.
Yes.
So the population is increasing.
But when you said, Darryl says, how do you define full?
I get there.
Remember Boris Johnson saying parts of Yorkshire look like the moon.
Really?
Well, they're quite empty, yeah.
Right.
Not my words, but look at Scotland, wilderness areas.
Look, if you have got pressure on doctor surgeries, on school places, on housing, on infrastructure, that's full.
OK, all right.
Well, hang on a minute.
Derek, sort your phone out. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Can I just make a point, though? Because we've also stripped those services to the bone. You cannot preside over 14 years of austerity. Then when you get to the other end of it, decide that it's people that are coming to the United Kingdom, desperate or workers, who are the ones that are putting pressure on that service. We have far fewer GPs. We have far fewer hospital appointments. Our infrastructure... How
big would you like the nation's debt to be?
Our infrastructure has been stripped to the bone.
How much are you prepared to borrow to fund services which your daughter will have to pay the taxes and she can't even use them?
Our current debt is extortionate.
It's 2 trillion.
Our current debt is at 2 trillion.
No, we did have COVID.
The total debt is 2 trillion.
So you're explaining to me, so you're telling me that 14 years of austerity, so what do we not, no public services?
We were still borrowing in austerity.
No public services at all? No, we borrow.
And we were still expanding public services.
We can, and thankfully we are now, should invest in those public services. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Every government, with the exception of the Callaghan government, every government, Labour, has in real terms increased spending on health services year on year. Doesn't matter what the party is, that is what they have done. And it runs to try and stand still. And there is this childish debate, there was austerity, there was something else. The reality is that we've got a 1940s system trying to cope with third millennium requirements. That's the problem.
Okay. By the way, we pay as a percentage of GDP.
It's a different topic.
We pay far less. We do indeed pay more, but the context is important. We pay far less into our health service as a proportion of GDP than other comparable countries.
And other comparable countries actually have charges and other things, so that the money going in isn't just public. Isn't just public money.
We're doing
just money.
There are elements of the health service you have to pay for. There are elements of the health service that are provided by the private sector.
OK,
so we do.
All right. This is an example when Trump was asked, why are you changing the subject the whole time? He says, I call it the weave. And we just weaved a bit there away from our topic. But we'll weave a bit more because we've got more subjects coming. Later we'll ask your parents.